Hey guys, Justin here. I bet you've heard that coding websites in the age of AI has never been easier. Well, today, for all our Webflow users out there, we're going to take a look at their brand new MCP server plus Claude code to help you code pages in your website faster than ever before. So let's dive in. First step in setting up our MCP server for Webflow and Claude is going to be to navigate to the Webflow developer portal. I'll place this link in the description for this video so that you have it, but just click on this link, navigate over to the Webflow developer portal, and this is their article on how we can set up our MCP server with Claude. It's very straightforward. If you watched my Wix video for setting up our MCP server with Claude, it's very similar. We're going to, in a second, jump over to the Claude console and developer portal and just paste in a simple line of code that you can find here for our MCP server configuration. So let's just go ahead and copy this code. Okay, I've copied it. And now let's pop up Claude. This is our home screen for Claude. Remember, you're going to need the desktop version of Claude in order to install any local MCP servers. This isn't just specific to Webflow. This is specific to any local MCP server that we're setting up that's a custom MCP server and not a out-of-the-box connector that's provided by Anthropic and Claude. Once we open up Claude, very simple. We're going to go to our settings and our tray, click our settings. The next thing we're going to do is go over to our developer portal. So scroll all the way down to the bottom to click on developer. And if you've set up any of these local MCP servers already, they're going to show up here in a list. You'll be able to see all your different MCP servers you've set up. You'll see several that I've set up. I'll probably make videos on setting each of these up and how easy they are to set up and what that enables for you. But today for Webflow, let's pretend like we haven't set it up already. Let's hit edit configuration. And the first thing that's going to do is it's going to pop up a window with our Claude desktop config JSON file. If you watch the Wix video, this is the same operation we went through there. You're going to double click on this, open it with your notepad or your text editor. If you're on a Mac, I'm on a PC, obviously. Let's go ahead and open this up. And this is going to open up our code for our local MCP servers. One pro tip that you're going to want to pay attention to is notice this one little comma in this code string. If you have more than one MCP server already set up, your second MCP server is going to need to be separated by a comma. And then your third MCP server is going to need to be separated by another comma. So basically, after each one of your MCP servers, you need to input a comma and then paste in your new code. After that MCP server's code, place another comma when you're adding your next MCP server's code. You'll see I've already pasted in my Webflow code here. It's in the middle. I've actually added a couple of MCP servers. I will probably be graying out or blurring out my API keys so you guys are not seeing my API keys for N8N and Make, but just a funny call out there. Once you've inserted this code, go ahead and save your document, close the file library, and you're now going to close Claude itself. So once you close Claude, be sure to go ahead and close Claude out of your task tray as well. So start your task tray, go ahead and search for Claude in your task tray like I have here, and you're going to need to end task completely. If you don't do that step, Claude continues to run in the background and will not load your MCP server the next time you open it. It's as if you had not closed it at all. You have to completely kill the application in your tray and completely shut down the app. Once you've done that, you're ready to start the next step, which is restarting Claude and configuring your MCP server app with Webflow. Hey guys, welcome back. We just finished our MCP server configuration in Claude, and we're now ready to restart Claude. Once we restart Claude, you should see an OAuth experience from Webflow, asking you for your Webflow credentials. You will need to insert those in order to link Webflow to Claude. Once you've done so, you will then successfully see your Webflow toggle underneath your Search and Tools menu. You should see this toggled on if you've successfully configured your MCP server and OAuth into Webflow. Now, if this is not on or you receive an error upon starting Claude back up, I would recommend copying and pasting that exact error message that you received from Claude right into the Claude console, as well as the code that you entered into your developer file for Webflow, along with the rest of the other MCP configuration code as well, so that Claude can help you troubleshoot what you might be experiencing as an error due to any missing code, or maybe you're missing that critical comma, whatever it might be, and get you back on track. So if you do experience that, be sure to try that as your first line of attack, and then continue on through the developer document until you get to the section where it has us link our app within Webflow to Claude. So that is the next step of configuration. We're going to go over to Webflow. You're going to look for your apps within Webflow. Once you've opened your apps, you should see as the first app here, the Webflow MCP Bridge app. We're going to need to click launch. Once we launch this, this will now link to Claude, connected to our MCP server. And now we're ready to start using Claude to help us code our web pages in Webflow. So exciting. Now we're going to jump back over to Claude and start coding a simple blog page just to complete this demo today. All right, guys, now that we've connected the MCP bridge and Webflow, we're ready to start coding our pages from Claude directly into Webflow. So let's ask Claude to help us go ahead and configure a blog page within our Webflow instance. So please help create a blog inside of my Webflow instance. All right, and with a simple instruction like that, Claude will now start to leverage the MCP server that we just connected via Webflow and Claude. So let's let it do its thing. All right, so the first thing you're going to find is that Claude wants to ask permission to use your Webflow MCP server. I would recommend allowing these things on a case-by-case basis instead of always allowing, in case in some instance Claude gets confused in the future and thinks that you want it to code something on your website when you really don't. That can be problematic and hard to roll back once you've done it. But let's go ahead and allow for this instance, and then let's see how Claude does. All right, it's thinking, see which site we want to use. It's fetching our site. Let's allow it to fetch our site. It's looking at our sites list, thinking again. All right, it found our site, Justin's Amazing Site. Now it's going to go ahead and start working on creating a blog page for us. So let's allow it to do its thing again. And it's starting to architect a CMS collection and configuration within Webflow. This all sounds pretty promising. So let's stay tuned and see what Claude does. So as it's beginning to create the blog, it's starting to realize, hey, we need to add some essential fields. Most blogs have things like images, display feature names, help text, things like that. So it knows from all of its training data that these are essential components of any good blog page, and it is going to go ahead and start building these things based on what it's seen in its training data. Yeah, Claude's done. It was that quick. It's set up my blog page within Webflow. Let's actually go take a look within Webflow and see which pages we have now. We'll probably need to do a refresh here. And while it's refreshing, all right, here is our CMS collections page with our blog template all started up for us. Okay, guys, now that we've got our MCP server set up, we've set up our blog page within Webflow. Let's go ahead and try creating a blog with some of the tools that I was mentioning before from Claude. So I'm going to go ahead and select from my tool menu something pretty cool, which is a custom style that I've set up for myself, Justin, the AI strategist. We're going to leverage my writing style instructions that I trained Claude on in order to write a new blog. With that being said, I've also set up what they just released this week, which is a custom skill with instructions on how I write my blogs, including the font, how I do H1s, H2s, the kinds of content and linking that I include throughout my blogs. So we're going to leverage that skill along with my writing style to go ahead and craft what will be a really tightly dialed in blog post. And then we're going to leverage our Webflow MCP server to have Claude go ahead and code that blog into our new blog page that we created within Webflow. So let's go ahead and start with a prompt. Let's just do something super simple and say, "Hi, Claude." I'm always nice to Claude. You never know, guys. We're going to need to be friends with the AI, I think, in the future. So, "Hi, Claude. Let's write a blog post about the new MCP server connection between Webflow and Claude and all of the amazing benefits of this MCP server." All right, so we're going to let Claude go ahead and prepare this blog content. Maybe it'll have some questions for me. As it's working on the content, let's consider what our next steps are going to be. After we see what Claude has done, we're going to ask it to invoke our blog writing skill. And then we're going to ask it to leverage the MCP server that we just connected to code our page in our Webflow instance. All right, so here we go. Claude is firing off a blog here. Looks decent. Hopefully this sounds like me. I spent a good bit of time uploading content and training Claude to sound like me, so we'll see. But for the purposes of today's demo, we're probably not going to do a ton of editorial, although I will be creating a skill to help Claude do editorial on this content so that it will sound more like me in the future. All right. So this is quite a bit of content. We're just going to let Claude keep working through this. And in the meantime, I've mentioned skills several times today, but skills are a very powerful new protocol from Anthropic that helps make your work way more deterministic and predictable in terms of the outcomes. You can give Claude a standard operating procedure or a service level agreement, basically, and precise instructions as to how to perform its tasks, along with other tools that it can access in order to perform the tasks that you're requesting. So let's go ahead and invoke a skill. "Hi, Claude. Please use my blog writing skill along with our new Webflow MCP connection to write and code this content into a blog page in Webflow for Justin's amazing site and our new CMS for our blog." All right. And so Claude is now going to get to work leveraging the skill that we've created, as well as publish this content via our MCP server to Webflow. And it's reading my skill that I mentioned to understand the specific content guidelines. All right. Now it understands exactly how to write a blog in the way that I would prefer it to. Synthesizing, and now we're going to go ahead and move on over to our CMS within Webflow for Justin's amazing site and begin writing this content. Excellent. It looks like everything's working, guys. So you'll see this is a super simple way now for you to create content, publish that content to your blog, all within Webflow. So hopefully this is going to save you a lot of time and effort and help you get content live faster than ever. We've hit our maximum length for this conversation. If this happens, guys, just roll over to a new conversation and ask Claude to resume. With the new memory features that were just released from Anthropic in the last couple of weeks, Anthropic will be able to leverage this old conversation and its memory to resume and complete the task in a new conversation. Trust me, this happens to me all the time. It used to be a lot more problematic when memory was not a feature. Anyway, that's it for today's video, guys. If you have any requests for other MCP servers, other skills that you'd like to see me build, feel free to leave that in the comments and I will get to those as quickly as I can. Thanks, and as always, have a great day.